Masechta Menochos Daf Nun Amud Aleph, the fourth line from the top. Nun Amud Aleph, the fourth line, right after the two dots. Loi. In the Mishnah we learned Loi Hikrivu Keves Babeika. If he hasn't, there was two tmidim, the Talmud Shal Shachar and the Talmud Shal Arabayim. So if he hasn't, okay, yes, if you haven't been makriv, if the kohen wasn't makriv the kevis in the morning, the Talmud in the morning, which, by the way, it was the same kohen that was makriv the kevis, the Talmud Shal Shachar was makriv the Talmud Shal Ben Abayim. Yeah, it's the same kohen. Stick around, but he was the one that did it, the Talmud Shal Ben Abayim. So Rabbi Shimon said, when? In the time there, if he's a onus or he's a shogeg and he was unable, then he could be makiv it ben harbaim if he wasn't makiv the Talmud Shal Shachar. But if he was a mesit,
he can do the Shachar also later on.
No, you makiv just the Talmud Shal Harbaim. What's the second one? The Talmud Shal Shachar he does ben harbaim. But what if he was a mesit and he wasn't makiv the kevis in the morning? Then he's not allowed to do it ben harbaim. Okay, that's what we learned in the Mishnah. When it comes to the Keteiros, even if he was a Mazit and he wasn't marked at the Keteiros in the morning, there's a half of a different kohen. We're talking about this Keteiros was a sacrifice that they used in the Mizbeach HaPnimi. And if he wasn't marked at the Keteiros in the morning, even if he was a Mazit not being marked at the Keteiros in the morning, he's marked at Ben HaBayim. Reb Shimon said, "V'kula ha'isa keva Ben HaBayim." You see, according to the Tanakama, there was a shir, it was a chatzi mana, there was a chatzi pras in the morning and a chatzi of a mana, we call it, a chatzi of a mana in the evening. But if Rabbi Shimon says, if he hasn't brought the keteiros in the morning, then he brings a full mana for the night, for the keteiros that you have to bring ben habayim. And then
in other words, that's how he makes it up.
He makes it up by bringing a full mana. Usually it was chatzi in the morning and chatzi in the, but if he didn't bring it in the morning, Rabbi Shimon says v'kula, the full mana he brings at the bein habayim. And then we learned in the Mishnah that the dedication of the Mizbeach Hazav was only done with the Keteiros Hasamim that was done bein habayim, and by the Mizbeach Ha'ila it was only with the Talmud Shal Shachar. That's how they dedicated the Mizbeach Achitzoni. In fact, how does chinuch come into the thing? The Mishnah hasn't spoken about chinuch at all. Chinuch matach hashmei. What's the meaning of chinuch in our Mishnah? So when we learned the Mishnah, we explained that the Mishnah was coming to tell you the shir of that you need for to dedicate the Mizbeach HaPnimi is a mana. That's where we learn out that if he wasn't marking the Talmud Shal Shachar, that then by the Talmud Shal by the Keteiros of the Bein Habayim, he has to give a full mana. And where do we learn it from? From the shear that was used to dedicate the Mizbeach Hazav, the Mizbeach HaPnimi, which was a mana. Okay, but B'Peil Mamish, the Gemara says, what about when the kasha is, and this is what the Rashi says, the kasha is on the Mizbeach Hazav. Why by the Mizbeach Hazav? Why do we need to talk about dedication? And there are missing words in the Mishnah. And this is how you have to learn the words in the Mishnah. Loi, you start off with this. Loi hikrivu keves ba'beika. If it wasn't makiv the keves in the Talmud Shal Shachar, loi yakivana, he should not be makiv the keves by the Talmud Shal Ben Habayim.
It has to be that they're not makiv the keves. I mean, there's the kohenim are all over the place.
He was honest. He couldn't. He had to go to the hospital. He was designated. He didn't do it.
Oh, the designated guy?
Yeah.
The other guys don't hang around to watch what he's doing.
Probably not. Maybe it didn't happen. Says when were these words said that he cannot be makiv the Talmud Shal Ben Habayim only shalei neschanach hamizbeich, only if the mizbeich hasn't as of yet been dedicated. Aval neschanach hamizbeich, but if the mizbeich has already been dedicated. Once. The first time. Then Yakidu. First, we're talking about the first, not back. It's the first time now. We're up to there, right at the beginning. So he says Yakidu ben Habayim. If the mizbeich was neschanach, then he could. If he wasn't makiv the keves ba'beika, then he could be makiv the keves as a Talmud Shal Ben Habayim. Amar Rav Shimon. Masai. When was this said that he could be makiv ben Habayim if the mizbeich was neschanach? Even if he didn't do the Talmud Shal Shachar, only if he was a honest or he was a shegeg. So if he wasn't makiv mitzada honest or a shegeg, then he could be makiv the tam shel bein abayim. Avalim hoyu mezidin. If he was amazed, and he was makiv the keves in the morning, then he cannot be makiv the keves ben abayim. Now going to the keteres, even if he was amazing. See, by the tam shel shacha, by the mizbeich hachitzin, if he was amazing and not being the tam shel shacha, he cannot bring the tam shel ben abayim. But by the keteres, even if he was amazing and he didn't bring the keteres in the morning, yaktiru ben abayim. He's makted ben abayim. Okay, from where do we learn out that if the mizbeich wasn't dedicated by the tam shel shacha, you can't be makted the tam shel ben abayim? Says Yemara, the Tanur Rabbanim said when we talk about the Chanukah Samishkin, the Chanukah Samizbeich, it says Es hakeves ha'echot tasma beker, and then it says Ve'es hakeves ha'sheni tasma ben abayim. So it's mashma only the sheni could be as a second keves. It could be sacrificed ben abayim, but lo yarish ben abayim. But you can't use if you didn't yet bring in the morning the keves rishon. You cannot use it for ben abayim. Says Yomar Hamed, when these words said only loinus chanach hamizbeich, if the mizbeich hasn't as of yet been dedicated. But if the mizbeich was dedicated,
how do they make the chinuch of the mizbeich?
By sacrificing the tamid in the morning. Says the Yomar nischanach hamizbeich, but if the mizbeich was dedicated, afilu rishain ben habayim, then you could have even the rishain. You could do. No, Neschanach means dedicated. If it was already dedicated, now you're up to days later, and you forgot the Tam Shel Shacha. So you can use the Tam Shel Shacha for the Ben Abayim. Where do we learn out that din? So we learn it out because there's another pasuk that says Ve'es hakeves ha'sheni tas ben abayim, and that pasuk doesn't mention about Es hakeves ha'echad or Es hakeves ha'rishain. So since it says just Es hakeves ha'sheni in that pasuk, it's mashma that even if he hasn't been marked the Tam Shel Shachar, he could still be marking the Tam Shel Ben Abayim. From that second pasuk, see, from the first pasuk we learn out, since it says that's hakeves ha'echad.
Only if it was a shaygig, right? It was a shaygig.
Of course, a shaygig. But we're talking about that this union of loinus chanach hamizbeach, right? Then you can't be makiv the rishain ben abayim because it says es hakeves ha'echad tas ba'beik es hakeves ha'sheni. It can only be as a sheni. But where do we know if it was neschanich you could bring the rishon as a sheni? From a second pasuk where it doesn't mention about the rishain.
The rishon is the sheni, or you're bringing the rishon also?
It means it's as if you're taking the rishain. Officially, you were supposed to bring the rishain in the morning, and now which one is the rishain and ben abayim? That's going to be the first one that you're bringing for that day, and you bring that rishain ben abayim. That you're not allowed to do.
Only one carbon then?
Only one carbon, yeah.
No,
one carbon. Only by the Keteris we said that you have to bring a full mana.
The shiurim is different also, or just it's the same way it would have been in the morning.
By the Keteris?
No, the kevis.
Kevis is one kevis. If he didn't bring in the morning, he brings the Talmud Shel Ben Abayim, even though he didn't bring in the morning. Okay. I just told you from where do we learn out that could be good because there's a second pasuk that tells you as hakeves ha'sheni without saying as hakeves ha'echad. Okay. You said because the Kohanim sinned b'meizid. We said if he didn't b'meizid, he cannot bring the Talmud Shel Ben Abayim. Says Gemara, therefore, because he was amazed, so the mizbeach should go battle without any karbanis on it. Those kahanim that were amazed and were negligent in not bringing the Talmud Shel Shacha, that kohen who's supposed to bring the Talmud Shel Shacha is also supposed to bring the Talmud Shel Ben Abayim, and he didn't bring the Talmud Shel Shacha. We're not going to let him bring the Talmud Shel Ben Abayim. But other kahanim could be makriv. In the Mishnah we learned, there's a
carbon.
Always ongoing, regardless. Correct. If he wasn't marked the Keteris in the morning, and he was amazed, even amazed, the halacha is he could be marked in the evening. Why? Since it's unusual. So here you have a couple of perushim. Unusual because a kohen was brought to Keteris one time in his lifetime. Never did he get a second chance. And second reason is because uma'ata, it makes a person wealthy when a kohen is marked. That's why we say because the Keteris, is it says about the Keteris. It says that Moshe Rabbeinu blessed the Kohanim and Leviim. Yosimu Keteris ba'pecha. He will place the Keteris in your nostrils. And right after it says Baruch Hashem Chele. Right next to that, there's the pasuk that Hashem will bless all his fameg and all his whatever he has. So you see, Chavivalu, this is something that's beloved to the Kohanim. V'loi pashi, they're not going to be negligent in that. So therefore, we're not worried that he's going to be pesheya. Reb Shimon said, the whole manna of the Keteris, if he didn't bring it in the morning, he brings it ben habayim. The only way to dedicate the Mizbeach HaPnimi is by bringing the full manna on the Mizbeach HaPnimi ben habayim. In fact, it says the way to dedicate the Mizbeach HaPnimi is with the Keteris HaSamim of the morning. And we just said to dedicate the Mizbeach HaPnimi is with the Keteris HaSamim of Ben HaBayim of the evening. Which one is it? Hazov. The gold in the Mizbeach. That was inside the Eichel. Correct.
That was only once a year used.
Right? Yeah, Chatas, yeah. So it's Gemara Tanoyi. It's a machlekes of Tanoyim. That according to one Tana, the Tana Baal Mishnah says it's only done with the Keteris Shal Ben HaBayim. That's how it was dedicated. But then according to the Tana of the Braisa, it was dedicated with the Keteris Shal Shachar. Oma Abayim Estabra. It's reasonable to say Kimanda Oma, like the one who says Keteris Hasam Shal Ben HaBayim, like the one that says that the dedication was with the Keteris Hasam of the evening. The Chsiv, because it says in the pasuk, the Hikta Alav, that's referring to the Mizbeach Hazav. Aaron Keteris Sam, Aaron will bring the Keteris, Babeika in the morning. Is after cleaning out the Meneda, Yaktarana, he should burn the Keteris after lighting the Meneda. So if he didn't do, so they had to clean out the lamps in the morning. But you could only clean out the lamps if you lit the Meneda the night before, because if not, there was nothing to clean.
But you can't bring the Keteris till you
light the candles. It goes together, the lighting. Where did you get to clean out the lamps if you didn't light it? Obviously, you lit it the night before. And it says about the lighting, it's connected with the burning the Keteris. So you know it's Bein HaBayim. Where does he come off saying it's in the morning? Here you have a connection. By the natives was lit in the night, and the Keteris are written together with the lighting of the natives. It says Uvahali says natives, right? And then it says Yaktirana, right? That's what it says in the pasuk. V'hikta love Aaron Keteris Samim. So what the one that says in the morning, what does he learn it out from? It says you want to come in Mizbeach HaOlah. He learns it out from the Mizbeach HaChitzei.
What does he want? What's the shayla?
We just said that we have a raya that the Keteris was burned by night because it's connected to the lighting of the Meneda, and the lighting of the Meneda was done by night.
Yeah, okay.
So according to Mandama, that says it was by day. What does he learn out that it's a day? The morning. The dedication of the Meneda was in the morning, not at night. Where does he come off saying the Mizbeach? I'm sorry, the Mizbeach, the Keteris of the Mizbeach which dedicated the Mizbeach was the Keteris that was done in the morning. Where does he learn that out from? To what does he compare that to? Where does he learn it out from? That we have an understanding that the Keteris was done by night, and that dedicated to the Mizbeach because it's connected with the lighting of the Meneda by night. But according to the one that says the dedication of the Mizbeach was with the Keteris that they burnt in the morning, where does he get that from?
How does he connect that
to? What does he connect it to? Where does he get it from? He says, you want to come to Mizbeach HaIlan? He learns it out from the Mizbeach HaIlan, Mizbeach HaChitzim, Mala Halon. Just like the Mizbeach HaIlan was dedicated Dafke B'Tamid Shal Shachar, with the Tamid that they brought in the morning, so too, by the Mizbeach HaPnimi, is the Keteris HaSam Shal Shachar, was what burning the Keteris in the morning. We learned in the Mishnah, it says, how did you dedicate the Shulchan? By removing the old Lechem HaPanim and putting the new Lechem HaPanim. That happened in Shabbos. But the Lechem HaPanim, setting up the Lechem HaPanim on Shabbos, that's what dedicated the Shulchan. Says Gemara El Bechel Ichanuchi Hu Delay Mechanech. But in the weekdays you couldn't dedicate it. HaKiddush Mekadosh. But you're saying that it did sanctify the bread, any bread that went into the shulchan, even during the week, it would sanctify that bread. And so how could you say it's Mekadosh the lechem, but it's not going to dedicate?
You can't, because there was no chinuch of the table.
Huh? No, it shouldn't be up to right. No, that's not the question. The question is, you're saying it's in the weekdays you cannot be mechanech it if it's in the weekdays. You can't dedicate it.
Okay.
But it seems like, but it could be mekadosh it.
Okay.
So it says, how could you? But that's for sure not. It cannot be mekadosh the lachem bechel because the shulchan is not mekadosh lachem upon him only the Shabbos.
Yeah, okay.
So the kiddush. So, but from this diuk, it's mashma that only chinuch couldn't be done in the weekdays, but to be mekadosh the bread to put, when you put it on the shulchan, it would be mekadosh it, but we know it's not.
What's the type of the kiddush? The kiddush that what
Makes it sanctified.
That you can't use it.
It's only for the kahanim, yeah. But per mamish here it's mashma that it does become kiddush because he said the only thing that does it weekdays cannot accomplish is to dedicate it. But it's mashma to be mekadosh lechem, you could. And we know it's not. We know only Shabbos can be mekadosh it. Says, you're right. So he go for kamashma. This in itself, this din itself, he's come to teach us. The chinuch, the kiddush, the shulchan, b'Shabbos. That the only way to dedicate it and to be mekadosh lechem is only b'Shabbos.
Because it said chinuch is
B'Shabbos and not b'chel, but kiddush could be b'chel. So he's telling you no. It's like you want to kidduktani sefer. Like we learned in the Sefer the Mishnah, so too, you can't dedicate the Menorah only by lighting the 7 neders in the evening. Just like there, the Mishnah said it, right? To tell us the time, a specific time of the dedication, and the malacha becomes, any malacha that has to do with it, that's the time that it becomes Mekudish. So, same thing here, he's telling you by the Shulchan, that the chinuch and the kiddush is dafke b'Shabbos. He says that there was one ketores that went for the mizbeach hachitzin. There was a ketores that they burnt on mizbeach hachitzin, but it was only in the mizbeach hapnimi. But it was a time that it was done mizbeach hachitzin, but it was only for one time. A purpose.
Why was it done?
In fact, hey, where did you see that? So Papa said, by the Nasim, by the Chanukah Mizbeach, each shevet, each nasi brought ketores on the Mizbeach HaChitzah.
Says he made his own chinuch.
He doesn't call it a chinuch. I'll just look at the number. I don't think he calls it a chinuch, but he says. It says Shakavani Hamishkan. Maybe it does have to do with it. It had to do with each shevet had to do it. Meaning each nasi, the nasi of every shevet had to do it. It says so that means a yachid normally cannot be makiv ketores, right? So you said only by the mizbeach hachitzin. You said so strongly it was a reish, but normally a yachid cannot be on a mizbeach hachitzin. But a mizbeach hapnimi makriv v'su. That's number one. That's one thing you learn out. V'su al mizbeach hachitzin yachid hu deloi hatziba mikavu. We say only a yachid cannot be makriv ketores. That's what it seems like you're saying in the brayso, but it's mashma tziba could. We learned in the brayso yachid misnadiv umevi kayotzeba. I would have thought that a yachid could be bring ketores as an adava. Says the umevi kayotzeba, like the ketores shel tzibur could be brought in adava. V'kainani ba moitzes v'sachat tishmar v'asisa kasha nadata. It says the words that came out of your lips, you should guard and you should do like you promised. And you should be mechuyev to be mekayim your neder, he says. So from this pasuk, when it says v'nefesh kisakiv korban, we learn, the Brayso teaches us that a yachid could be misnadiv wine, shemen and eitzim on his bayach. So I would have thought, he could be a neder. A ketores is also korban. So I would think he has to, if he made a neder to bring ketores as a korban, so I would have thought that a yachid could be misnadiv even Ketores on the Mizbeach HaChitzon. Talmud Lema, Lo Yisalu alav Ketores Zah. Comes the passing and says, Lo Yisalu, to teach us that you cannot be makiv a Ketores Shal Yachid. Says nevertheless, Yachid maybe Nedavah maybe Chayvas Kayetzba. I would have said, you know why a Yachid cannot bring Ketores as a Nedavah? Because he cannot bring even a Chayv that he's obligated to bring as a carbon of Ketores. He's not allowed to bring it as a Chayv Yachid. No such a concept.
So in other words, there's also things that you can bring Ketores as an individual?
On Mizbeach HaChitzon, no.
So how do you, where else?
It's only in the Mizbeach HaPnimi.
But that's only once a year though. That's the
No,
point.
it's the Ketores was done every morning and every evening.
the
Yeah.
point.
So he says that I understand that Yachid cannot bring an adava of Ketores as a carbon because as a chayv it doesn't exist such a concept. Says the Gemara, maybe, but I'll say a tzibur should be able to bring Ketores as an adava on the Mizbeach HaPnimi because we find that a tzibur shemevi chayv kayetzeba. We say that a tzibur brings in the Mizbeach HaPnimi. He brings the Ketores twice a day. Because that comes from the Tzibur. Talmud Leiman comes the passing and says, Lo Yisala b'lashon Rabban, to teach us any Ketores, whether of a Nedava, whether it's a Yachid or a Tzibur, is considered as a Ketores Zara, and it's forbidden. Says Gemara, Yachal Lo Yalu, I would have thought that Tzibur cannot bring a Ketores Nedava al Mizbeach HaPnimi. I would have thought he's not allowed to bring on the Mizbeach HaPnimi. But I would think, on the Mizbeach HaPnimi he can't, it's special, but on the Mizbeach HaChitzon as a tzibur, maybe yes. Talmud Leimer comes the passage and says, Ve'eis shemen ha'mishcha, ve'es Ketores ha'samen ha'kodesh, kichayel asher tzivisicha yasu. The words kichayel asher tzivisicha tells you, ein lecha elamash am beinyan. That means you cannot be makiv. The only those Ketores that the Torah says mefarashes, that's the Chayvus HaTzibur, that which is brought on the Mizbeach HaPnimi, that's the only Ketores that can be brought. But Ketores Nedava cannot be sacrificed even on the Mizbeach HaChitzon.
What's the plan? Are we in the same place? No days?
No, base. I'm up to Amar HaPapa.
Right before the Mishnah?
Amar HaPapa. Amar HaPapa is right before the Mishnah, 5 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm up to Amar HaPapa. So what do we see from here? We have a stira. Here it says that not a yachid, a Ketores yachid cannot be brought, and we made a diuk that only a yachid cannot bring on the Mizbeach HaChitzon, but on the Mizbeach HaPnimi he could, and then we said a tzibur could be makiv Ketores even on the Mizbeach HaChitzon, and here we said you can't. Our Papa says what we said before. We didn't say you're allowed in the diuk. He said, Loi mebayah. The Tana was saying it, not only you can't, Loi mebayah. You don't even have to say that Tzibur cannot be makiv Ketores ala Mizbeach HaChitzon. Why don't you have to say it? The Layashkechan, we don't find such a thing that's ever muttered for Tzibur to bring Ketores on the Mizbeach HaChitzon. But Loi mebayah, Yachid ala Mizbeach HaPnimi. And there's no need to tell me that a Yachid cannot be makiv Ketores on the Mizbeach HaPnimi. The Lo Yashkechan, we don't find a heter for that anywhere. Afilu Yachid on the Mizbeach HaChitzon. A Yachid who wants to bring Ketores on the Mizbeach HaChitzon, which I would have thought maybe because the Ashkecham b'Nesiyim, because we know that Nesiyim did bring it at the dedication of the Mizbeach HaChitzon. Hayras Shah Haysa. That was only for that time, and therefore even a Yachid cannot sacrifice Ketores on the Mizbeach HaChitzon. A Yachid cannot be Yachid or a Rabbin can never be makter Ketores, not in the Mizbeach HaChitzon and not in the Mizbeach HaPnimi. That's it. That's the whole thing. The Kitzur Nimitz. We learned in the Mishnah, Chavite Kohen Gadol, the Chavite was a mincha that was made in a shallow pan. And half of it, the Kohen Gadol would bring in the morning. And half of it, he would bring Bein HaBayim. It's called minchas machvas. Okay. Because it was fried. The mincha was fried in it. Lo yahayu bayin chatzayin. And he says, when you would bring it, you wouldn't bring in the morning half the shear for the morning, and then when it came in the evening, he goes back home and he brings another half a shear at night. No. He had to bring a full isare, And in the morning, out of that fully sorry, he would take off half for the morning, and in the evening he would put the second and half. Ela maybe Yisarin Shalei, he brings a full Yisarin v'chitzeyu, and he divides it. Umak mechza b'abayka mechza ben abayim. He's making half in the morning, half in the night. In the Mishnah we learn kohen shemaybe mechza b'shachris umeis, a kohen gadol that brought half of the Yisarin in the morning and he died. So now uminu kohen gadol achav tachtav. They appointed a new kohen in his place. Says Gemara lo yavei. The second kohen shouldn't come chatzi Yisarin mebeisai just with a half a Yisarin. Says, oh, the other kohen already brought in the morning. Now I'll just come with a half a Yisarin, and I'll take care of the night.
What does he do?
He says, "V'loi chatzi Yisarin sharishin," and he cannot take the second half of the first kohen's.
Okay.
Elamevi Yisarin shalei. He has to bring in the evening a full Yisarin v'chayitzeyu, and he divides it. Umakriv mechza, he's makiv half for the bein habayim, umachza avid, and the other half goes lost. Meaning, it has to go to Batsuras. I'm going to learn so. Nimtzu shnei chatzoyin krevim. We have two that were sacrificed from the first kohen. Who brought a fully son and he was makiv only a half in the morning, and the second kohen, because he took the place of the first kohen who died, and he was makiv the second, and ushnei chatzoyin, and they both have halves. What happens to those extra halves? Oivdin has to be burnt. Sagt die learned. If in the pasuk would have said mincha machzis, babeiko machzis ba'erev, then I would have said maybe chatzi yisar mebeisai shachris umakiv and chatzi yisar mebeisai ba'arvis umakiv. If it would not say machzisa, it would say machzis babeika. So I would say half he brings in the morning and half he brings at night. But comes the pasuk and teaches us that it's not so. It says machatzi sa babayka, half of it. Oh, he's saying half of it. That means half of the whole. Machatzi sa b'arev, and half of the whole in the evening. So machza mitchisan shalim umakriv. It means a half of a whole. Okay, son. How is a case a half of a whole? Maybe he brings in the morning Yisarin shalim v'chaytzeyu. He brings a full Yisarin and divides it. And he sacrificed half in the morning and half in the evening. If the half that had to be brought in the evening became tamei, or got lost, I would have thought I would have thought all he has to bring is only half his son by Arvis, and sacrifice it. Meaning that mechza mishalim hu maybe has to be always a fully sudden, even if he
the machza has to be
coming from a hole. And since he lost a half, he has to bring a hole again and take off half for the evening. Okay, son. Okay, son. Maybe he's son shalom. V'chaytzeyu umakiv mechza, and he's makiv mechza. Umerza of it, and the other half goes to the God. I mean, it has to be burnt. Nimtzu shnei chatzoyin krevim. You have two that was sacrificed, and two that have to go get burnt. And this is the case, similar to the case of our Mishnah. Now we're saying it's the exact same case. The same exact case we had in the Mishnah. Is this the Brais is repeating? The Kohen Gadol prepared the whole Yisarin, and he took off half for the morning, and then he died. And they appointed a new Kohen Gadol in his place. I would have thought that he only has to bring a half for the Bein Habayim, or he could take the second half of the Kohen who passed away. Talmud Leima comes the pasuk and says umachatzi sa ba'arev, the mechza mishalim, who maybe umakev. He has to be from the vav. It says what? His half from a shalom. Very good. Okay, so maybe Isarin shalom v'chaytzeyu. He brings a full Isarin and he divides in half. Umakev mechza, oved, and the other half you throw out. V'nimtzu shnei chatzoyin oivdin. You have the half of the first kohen who died. That half goes away, has to be burnt. the holy son that the new kohen brought for the evening, he only has to use half of it, and that half goes. And two halves were sacrificed. Tony,
So where's the second probably he takes from his house, the kohen?
he takes a fully son, from his house.
He has to bring from his house.
Yeah, his own. He cannot use the original kohen, the kohen who passed away.
No, Mary, I'm saying
Oh.
it comes from the tzibur.
If it's the tzibur, then he has. But it seems like his own mincha.
No, that you mark half in the morning.
Tam shal shach, tam shal bayim.
The possession. It was the private possession of the kohen.
I would say it belonged to the lishka, but he sent me besa. I don't know why he uses me besa. I hear you. Tony,
Where else? What should he say?
besa lishka, wherever he got it from. Tony Tana Kamid Rav Nachman. There was another Tana who was Bakim and Shnais and Braisa said before Rav Nachman this following Braisa. Mechza Harishe, the first half that was left over from the kohen who passed away, Umechza Sheni, and the second half of the new kohens, to Uba Tzurasan, you have to let it go overnight. You can't just bring it to burn. It has to be deformed. The form is that you let it go overnight and it loses its freshness. Then you bring it out to burn. I understand the first guys. The first one, I understand the first one you have to destroy. You have to let it go overnight because it had kedushas haguf. Something that has kedushas haguf, you can't just go and burn it. You have to let it lose it for cover. You let it lose its tzura, and then you don't put it on the mizbeach.
Because already it was roy.
It was roy to be sacrificed for the ben abayim. El hasheni, but the second kohen, tzura. Why should he have to? The second half was he took in the chatchila to throw it out.
He took out only to take a half.
Half, and the second half was meant to be thrown out. So why can't he burn it right away? Says remember who said this? Tana the Vei Baravur. It was a Tana from the Beis Medrash of Baravur, who holds the Omar Filu Pigul, even if it's a psul in the guf, he still says Torn Ibut Surah. Even if this thing is destroyed, meaning that it's not roi. Pigul is not roi, even by something that's not roi. Which is not roi, it's a psul in the guf, so it's not roi to go on the mizbeach, right?
The pigul
is a machshavas pigul. He had in mind to eat it after the allotted time, or to spray the blood. It became pasul. Something that's pasul.
But here it never had a certain kedusha.
Here the kedusha was there lechatchila by the first one. It was roi lakrava.
But the second time you say that
he took it leibud. The half was supposed to get lost anyway. So that's like a psul begufay. It's not worse. Here it's even worse. A psul begufay you should burn right away. And nevertheless, this Tana holds, no, we don't burn it. You have to still treat it with respect. You have to wait till it deforms, meaning let it stay overnight and becomes unfresh, and then burn it. So Ravashi Amar, no, I feel Rabbanan. You could say even the Rabbanan. Why? Given to be eaten, because when he took the fully sudden, he didn't know which half is going to wear. So they were both fit to go for the Talmud Shel Shachar. So they were both really original fitting. So therefore, it has it has some kind of a kedusha. So you have to wait the 2 minutes. So Itma we learn. Amachloikis of Amaroim in the Beis Medrash. It says Chavite Kohen Gadol Ketzad Oisa Noisa. The Chavite of the Kohen Gadol. How did you do it? Rabbi Yochanan, you bake it in a oven, and then achakach mitagna, and then you fry it, deep fry it in the pan. And Rabbi Yassi Amar Rabbi Chanina, he says the reverse. First mitagna, first you fry it, and then you bake it. My shita is much better. He said, Rabbi Chia says my shita is right, that you first bake it and then fry it. Why? It says tu finei. What does it mean, tu finei? You break it up. It's a short word for teofenona. It should be baked nicely. Now, if you fry it, the baking is not nicely, because once you fry it Rashi says it's already blackened from the oil and the machvas when you fry it. So it's not going to be a nice bake. So first bake it, then fry it. My sheet is right. Why? Because the words tufine is a kitza for teyafena. No means halb nicht backen. I mean it's not fully baked. So the only way that it's not fully baked is that you first fried it. It's not fully baked, and then you bake it. Says Gemara Tanoi. It's a machlokes of Tanoim. Tufine is teyafena no. That tufine means that it has to be baked, but half baked, which is fried first and then baked. And Rabbi Yomer teyafena no. It means it has to be baked beautifully. So if you fry it, it's going to be blackened. So that's why you bake first. Yeah. And the word no we have in the Torah. Been gave to the common Pesach. Okay. Says the Gemara, no umavushal, it says there. You have to bake it many times, meaning you bake it before you fry it, then you fry it, and then you bake it again. Why? Because islay no. He says you have to have both. So you bake it first, and then you have to have a half baked, so you do frying, and then you bake it again. Says Gemara, we learned in the Mishnah, Chavite Kohen Gadol Lishasam, the kneading, Barichasan, and the form, Lafiyasam, and the baking is done befnim inside the Hazara, V'doiches es HaShabbos, and it overrides Shabbos. From where do we know this? Avuna said, Tufine teyafena no, meaning that the mincha has to be beautiful because of the baking. And if you're not going to do it fresh, if you're going to do it from the day before, in Nasrallah, then it's going to blow up and it's going to be dried up. It's not going to be fresh. Okay? You can still keep it fresh, do it before Shabbos, and cover up with greenery that keeps it fresh. Says, and so because of this kasha, the Gemara gives a different marker. From where do we know that it overrides the Shabbos? He learns it because it says it says which means it should be done all the time. And in every Yoif, you should do it. It says in the pasuk, which means has a din like a minchas tamid, which is done even on Shabbos. It needs a kli sharis for the baking and for the measuring. So you see, by the baking, it becomes a kedusha zaguf. If this mincha needs to be baked in a kli sharis, so it has already kedusha. You can't say I'm going to bake it before Shabbos, and on Shabbos I'll use it, because then it's psolina. Okay.